Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling off, like you agreed to something you didn't want, or apologized for something you didn't do? Maybe you told yourself, it's not a big deal, but deep down it felt wrong. That's the invisible art of manipulation. It doesn't always look like control. Sometimes it looks like kindness. And trust me, many people disguise their manipulation with kindness. In this video, we're diving deep into the 7 hidden psychological tricks manipulators use, and more importantly, how to spot and disarm them before they get inside your head. 1. Gaslighting, the reality warper. Gaslighting is one of the oldest and most destructive tools in manipulation. It's when someone makes you doubt your own perception of reality, your memory, your feelings, even your sanity. It often starts small. You're remembering it wrong. You're overreacting. That never happened. Soon, the victim begins to question their own mind, and that's exactly the point. Psychologists first described the pattern in the 1960s, but recent studies show how widespread it really is. According to a 2022 survey published in the Journal of Interpersonal Violence, more than 58% of respondents reported experiencing some form of gaslighting in a close relationship, most often romantic partners or family members. Clinical psychologists also note that gaslighting frequently appears in relationships marked by power imbalance, such as emotional abuse, workplace harassment, or toxic leadership dynamics. My former manager tried to gaslight me. I understood early on, because I had been gaslighted in a previous relationship and went to therapy for it. In my case, I documented every interaction I had with him. I left the job after a short time because of the toxicity. My lesson from this: gaslighters are everywhere. Research from the University of California found that prolonged gaslighting can lead to symptoms similar to chronic trauma, including confusion, self-doubt, anxiety, and emotional numbness. The psychology behind it. Gaslighting works by exploiting cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we feel when our reality conflicts with someone else. Our brains crave harmony, so we start bending our version of events to restore peace. The defense. Trust your sensory reality. If something feels off, write it down. Keep a record of what was said and when. Patterns reveal manipulation faster than memory ever can. 2. Guilt tripping, the emotional leash. Ever felt like you owe someone, even when you've done nothing wrong? That's guilt tripping, the art of turning empathy into obedience. After everything I've done for you, I guess I just don't matter to you. Manipulators know that guilt is a shortcut to control. It bypasses logic and attacks your sense of morality. Research in Personality and Individual Differences, 2019, shows that guilt is one of the strongest motivators of compliance in social relationships, even stronger than fear or reward. Manipulators exploit this by inducing moral guilt, a guilt that makes the target feel like a bad person, rather than someone who simply made a mistake. Therapists often note this pattern in codependent dynamics, where one partner consistently takes responsibility for the other's emotions. If you consider yourself empathetic or to have good morals, please be careful. You're probably like a magnet for manipulators. Psychology behind it. This tactic hijacks the superego, the part of us that wants to be good. When that part feels threatened, we rush to fix things, even when we're not at fault. Defense. Guilt loses its power when you separate responsibility from emotion. Ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong, or do I just feel like I did? Emotion not equal to evidence. 3. Mirroring, the perfect reflection. You meet someone new. They laugh when you laugh, like what you like, agree with every opinion you share. It feels like you found your twin soul. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you've found a manipulator. Mirroring is when someone subtly copies your behavior to lower your guard. It creates false intimacy, a fast-forwarded connection that feels real, but is. Studies on social mimicry from the University of Nijmegen and Princeton University show that people are significantly more likely to trust and like someone who subtly mirrors their behavior, even in the first 60 seconds of interaction. Manipulators use this subconscious bias to create fast intimacy, often known in psychology as the chameleon effect. It's a natural human bonding mechanism, but when used deliberately, it becomes a weapon of deception. Psychology behind it. Humans are wired for familiarity bias. When someone reflects us, our brain releases dopamine, the trust chemical. It's the same reason we like people who look or think like us. Defense. Connection takes time. Ask questions that reveal individuality. What do you think about? If their answers always mirror yours, that's not chemistry. That's choreography. 4. Love bombing, the trap of excess. They shower you with affection, compliments, promises. It's overwhelming, in the best way. Until one day, the warmth disappears, and you find yourself chasing the version of them who used to care. That's love bombing, emotional bait that hooks you through intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that keeps gamblers glued to slot machines. Unpredictable rewards. The term love bombing was originally used to describe cult recruitment tactics in the 1970s, and modern research supports its psychological impact. A 2020 study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that love bombing often appears early in relationships with individuals who score high in narcissism and attachment anxiety. It triggers a reward cycle in the brain similar to gambling, through intermittent dopamine surges that make the victim emotionally dependent on unpredictable affection. Psychology behind it. The brain releases dopamine when we almost get what we want. Manipulators use that tension to make you addicted, not to them, but to their attention. Defense. Consistency is the test. Love that burns fast and bright often fades faster. Real care isn't loud, it's stable. 5. The foot in the door, the incremental trap. Manipulators know that big asks get rejected, so they start small. Can you help me with this tiny favor? Soon, tiny becomes routine. This is called the foot in the door technique, a persuasion method proven in social psychology studies since the 1960s. Once you say yes to something small, your brain rewires your self-image. I'm a helpful person. Saying no later feels like betraying that identity. This classic manipulation technique was first proven in a 1966 Stanford University experiment by Friedman and Fraser. They found that people who agreed to a small request, like placing a tiny sticker in their window, were 400% more likely to agree to a much larger request later, such as putting a huge billboard in their yard. Modern behavioral psychology confirms that the more we say yes, the more we see ourselves as agreeable, and manipulators exploit that identity loop. Defense. Watch for escalation. If every small favor leads to a bigger one, pause. You're not obligated to keep paying for a yes you gave weeks ago. 6. The time pressure game, decision hijacking. You have to decide now. This opportunity won't last. Whether it's a salesperson or a romantic partner, time pressure is one of the oldest manipulation tools. Research in cognitive psychology and behavioral economics shows that time pressure increases impulsivity and reduces rational decision-making. When people feel rushed, activity in the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and risk assessment, decreases, while the amygdala takes over, driving instinctive, fear-based decisions. This tactic is widely used in sales and negotiation environments, where urgency messaging can double conversion rates at the cost of informed consent. Psychology behind it. Under stress, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that makes rational decisions, goes quiet. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the fight or flight center, takes over. You're more likely to act on fear than logic. Defense. Whenever someone demands instant decisions, that's your cue to slow down. No healthy opportunity expires in an hour. 7. Triangulation, divide and control. Triangulation is manipulation through comparison. Everyone else agrees with me. You should be more like them. It's a way to make you compete for approval or doubt your worth. In groups, manipulators pit people against each other to stay in control. Triangulation has been studied extensively in family therapy and narcissistic abuse research. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Carol McBride and studies in the Journal of Emotional Abuse, manipulators use triangulation to maintain control by fostering competition, confusion, and dependence among those around them. It's common in workplaces, friendships, and romantic relationships, anywhere insecurity can be used as a lever. The long-term effect is emotional isolation and loss of trust in one's own judgment. Psychology behind it. It feeds on social validation bias, our desire to belong. The manipulator becomes the judge, deciding who's right, who's wrong, who's valued. Defense. Refuse the triangle. When someone drags a third person into the conversation, bring it back. Let's talk about us, not them. Directness kills manipulation faster than distance ever will. The mental defense toolkit. Manipulators thrive in confusion. So your best weapon is clarity. Here's your mental defense toolkit. Awareness, name the tactic. When you can label it, you weaken it. Boundaries, saying no doesn't make you cruel, it makes you conscious. Always protect yourself. Documentation, keep notes of promises, words, and shifts. Memory fades, patterns don't. Detachment, you're not obligated to fix or explain someone's feelings. Support, talk to someone outside the dynamic. Isolation feeds manipulation. Manipulation isn't always evil. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it's learned. But whether it's in relationships, workplaces, or online, the first step to freedom is seeing the pattern. Because once you can name the strings, no one can pull them anymore.